We just took a look at the first Alien movie in the series of the Alien films, the whole franchise. And right now we're going to take a look at the sequel. Aliens, it's not called Alien 2, it's just called Aliens, so plural. And the title actually means something because the first one, it was just a singular alien, whereas in the sequel, there are multiple aliens. And again, there's going to be some mild spoilers. I actually get into aliens a lot more than I got into Alien. So I just want to warn everybody, you will get some of the spoilers from their special features and some documentaries that are about the film. But I think it's still worth watching because it's such a fantastic movie. In my opinion, James Cameron's best film. Aliens is a 1986 action science fiction film in continuation of the Alien movies as a sequel to the 1979 horror sci-fi film Alien. At the beginning of the film, Ripley is told that her daughter, never mentioned in the first film, died at the age of 68. Ripley had been gone for 57 years. Just to kind of explain something to everybody, at the end of the first film, she locks herself and the ship's cat, Jonesy, in a cryostasis tube, and she just floats for 57 years until somebody picks her up. Now, she was kept in the same age in a state of sleep, so it's almost kind of like a Snow White, or you're pretty much just frozen, and when you wake up, it's years and years later. But this is how futuristic space travel is done in the Alien franchises, and it actually makes a lot of sense. But wouldn't it be interesting if these pods actually existed? Something that pauses the aging process of a biological being. I'm sure they definitely cost a fortune to keep running. Now, it is shown in the film that she was able to keep her cat Jonesy, again, the animal she locked herself in the stasis tube with, and that was kind of the mascot of the Nostromo, the ship from the first movie. Ripley also risks her life to keep the cat safe in the first movie. It's a pretty interesting scene. In the second film, Aliens, she does so again. Aliens ups the ante, though. She has to go straight into the alien hive and meet the Queen to rescue her surrogate daughter. What is fascinating about the film is the fact that Stan Winston, legendary special effects wizard, made the alien Queen. Now, to explain, the regular aliens from the first movie, the alien, is about maybe 6 or 7 feet tall, maybe about 12 to 15 feet long at the tail. Pretty large animals. The alien Queen is about 3 times that size. She's maybe about 15 feet and 30 feet long. Big animal. She's a towering reptilian-like animal, and she looks like she probably weighs a literal ton. Winston learned processes and shortcuts to make massive creatures come to life with the help of puppetry and robotics. Winston also used what he learned in the film Aliens to make the dinosaurs of the original Jurassic Park films come to life through his practical effects in 1993. He built a gigantic Tyrannosaur that in reality actually posed a physical threat to the actors and the crew there at Jurassic Park. The Rex also had to be wiped down due to the sponge-like quality of the replicated flesh. Now, you can only imagine the alien Queen. This is definitely, as I've said earlier, this is one of the best action films ever made. James Cameron is a genius, and in my opinion, this is his finest film. It's definitely interesting that he's most known for, well, I guess right now it's probably Avatar, but before that, Titanic was what he was most widely known for. And there's definitely action in that film, but it is not it's not an action film. It's not a sci-fi or anything like that. It's like a historical fictional drama. And the first Alien, definitely a horror film. The sequel, Aliens, is an extreme sci-fi action film. So instead of a group of interstellar truckers facing off against one alien, you've got an entire army of aliens. Cameron was insistent that what they were making was not what he considers to be a gothic horror film, but instead what he specifically calls a combat movie. Cameron was always fascinated by making a futuristic military film, which is exactly what he got to make with Aliens. He was attracted to the science fiction aspects of the film, as well as the strong female character in Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley. The sequel has a group of Marines facing off against an entire hive of slimy, spiky, slithering reptilian acid-bleeding brutes. They all inadvertently wind up being led by Ripley, all of the Marines. There is a fantastic documentary on Netflix right now about the production and making of Aliens in a series called Movies That Made Us. And it explains how the film was made. There's a lot of current interviews with some of the actors of the film, and it's definitely always interesting to see how a perspective has changed throughout time. Most of this information was got straight from the DVD special features, which you can get when you rent the Aliens DVD at the UHD library. Now, James Cameron is a household name, but when he was making this film, he was reported to have received no respect from the British crew. Now, the first movie, Alien, was made by Ridley Scott, who's a British film director. And I guess they thought that Cameron was kind of stepping on the toes of an iconic British film. And they filmed at Pinewood Studios in England, and pretty much the crew was angry Cameron was taking over the Alien film series. The crew thought that Cameron was a no-name nobody, and this is because his smash hit franchise-starting film, The Terminator, had not yet hit European theaters. I have read and heard conflicting reports that Cameron screened The Terminator for the crew, and they either did or did not show up to watch it. I've heard the latter, that they decided to just skip the screening of the crew, but the first story that I heard I actually kind of like more, and it's they didn't respect Cameron until they saw The Terminator, and then they realized, okay, this guy's got what it takes to make a fantastic sci-fi action film with elements of horror. So, if you have not yet seen the movie The Terminator, right after this broadcast, I recommend watching it immediately. It is most definitely on the list of essential science fiction and also essential films. Personally, it's definitely in my, I would say, top 15 best films. Anyway, back to Aliens. One of the best parts of Aliens is the late Bill Paxton, who appears in the film as Private Hudson, one of the Colonial Marines. And in the DVD special features, they said that they really kind of just let Paxton run wild and improvise a lot of his scenes. His character that he was playing was actually a lot closer to his own character in real life. And I think that definitely translated on the screen. People were able to see that, and people appreciate that too when they're able to see it. He's known for, in the film, after their transport crashes, that's going to get them back up to their main mothership from the planet where all the aliens are on. Bill Paxton's Hudson starts freaking out. That's it, man. Game over, man. Terrible impression, but I tried. What's interesting is that term "game over, man" became part of the public lexicon, and even so much so as to influence it. It being the title of a Netflix film, Game Over Man, which you can find on Netflix. It's actually a pretty entertaining movie. Steve-O appears in it, and it's always a lot of fun to see him. So, in the time between the first and second films, Ripley works as a cargo loader, and the future forklifts will look so much cooler, according to James Cameron. She uses a large machine that looks like a big yellow humanoid robot, or almost like a mech robot. The driver sits inside the open cockpit, using the loader like an extremely strong exoskeleton. The loader does play a significant role later in the film. The military also uses a large tank-like car that is shown in the film to be able to smash through concrete and seat over 8 fully geared Marines, as well as the Marines also have a heavily armed spaceship that delivers them from a large battleship in space to planet surfaces. Now, what's interesting is that during filming, actor James Remar was actually replaced by actor Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn was in James Cameron's The Terminator. Remar was dealing with substance abuse issues at the time, and he was sent back to the United States after British authorities found heroin in his hotel room. There are actually still some shots with Remar in the film, although it is only from the back or the side when his face is obscured. But they still used him in the film because they were able to. Androids are also something that exists in the Alien universe. Now, this is a spoiler alert for the first film. In the first film, Ripley is nearly killed by an undercover robot posing as human. So to kind of explain the robots, we got to kind of go back and look at the company in this fictional franchise. It's called Weyland Yutani, and it's a Japanese-American company that they merged, and then they pretty much, I guess, take over the Earth and start colonizing other planets. It's your typical evil corporation that you'd see in a movie, you know, kind of a typical film trope. They do it so well, though, and one of the, because they go to colonize other planets, their catchphrase is "building better worlds," and it's always so much fun when they have a company like that. It's kind of like the fictional company in James Cameron's film. There's Cyberdyne Industries, which eventually leads to Skynet, but that's the Terminator. That's not Alien. So we'll get to that here eventually, sometime down the line. Anyway, so the company hires robots to make sure that the crew stays with the company objective. And if the crew maybe are going against the company objective, maybe they don't want to do exactly what the company's going to do, then the robot's going to step in, and if it has to, will mortally wound that crew member and keep them from doing their job of keeping all the other crew members safe, regardless of if they don't know the hidden agenda of the company. So, for example, when they have this alien creature on board their ship, Ash lets the man in from quarantine. The robot Ash lets the man in because it's a secret objective of the company to, if you come across any outer space life, to preserve it and bring it back alive, back to outer space. It now is property of Weyland Yutani, I guess is the way they view it. So in the sequel Aliens, there is a robot among the Marines and the crew, played by Lance Henriksen, and his name in the film is Bishop. Now, he's actually a good robot. Supposedly, he mentions that the robots have had their programming changed, and this is after they turned against the humans. So, another interesting thing is, there is a theory that the robots that are put in the Alien movies by Ridley Scott are actually the same robots from his film Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford. Ford plays a man who hunts for the robots called replicants. Now, if this is true,